John, we always appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule on a Thursday morning to join the Murph and Marcus show. We appreciate it so much we wanted to give you a gift. We subbed out a UCLA Bruin, and we brought in a Stanford Cardinal. Todd Husak is in this morning filling in for Murph. How are we doing today, John?
We're doing great. Yeah, that's a good trade. Todd, it was I got to tell you, I went to bed not feeling very good about our Cardinal the other night. We were in New Orleans. It was getting late. It wasn't looking good. And I woke up the next day and I said, you have little faith because it turned out really good for the Cardinals. So that was fun to see all the good work they're putting in pay off a little bit.
Well, here's a good story. I took the family to the game thinking, all right, it's late. The kids want to go at halftime. The kids were having so much fun. We stayed till the very end. So we saw the win live, and the kids had a blast.
Yeah, that was awesome for the Card. They needed some good fortune and a lot of good things going on up there. Andrew's going to do a great job. He gives us all hope, and here's hoping for, and I'm expecting better things to come. There's too many good people up there and too many good things going on.
Absolutely. And you followed up with a great win in New Orleans on Sunday. A lot of talk about the quarterback position. We'll get into that. But one of the things we just talked about was the defensive side of the ball and how they're playing together. And I think that was a question coming into the season. How are they going to integrate all of the young players, the draft picks, and a lot of guys who did not play in the preseason? And we've gotten our answers through the first couple weeks. Robert Saleh has that defensive unit playing together and allowing those young rookies to step up and make some plays. Talk about Robert Saleh and his impact on the defense and them playing together early in the season.
Well, Saleh does a tremendous job leading that unit. And, I think as good as Saleh was, our first iteration when he came here, when we started back in 17 and he grew and we kind of developed our system, then he left and he became a head coach. And so I just think the experience from that even made him better. Now he's back. He's having a great time. He's working with a young unit. We have that youth, but then when you can mix in that youth with Fred Warner and, Bosa and Diamador and, it's a good mix. And it's not perfect. We have a standard that's extremely high. And so I know we want even better, but you see a lot of good things going on. I love the style we're playing with. We're playing our brand of football, which is running to the football and arriving with bad intentions and getting a lot of people there. And I think if you have that as a foundation, we have a lot of talent, and we have a lot of talent that's going to continue to ascend and get better. And it's just I marvel. I played with some tremendous players, but the consistency of Fred Warner that you see on the field each and every week, and in practice, the way he prepares himself and it shows up on the field. I thought he played darn near a flawless game against the Saints, made plays throughout, and made a huge play at the end, covering that tight end. That was a quintessential Fred Warner game. He plays with so much heart, so much soul, so much brain power. It's an awesome thing to watch.
And that's why Fred Warner was named NFC Defensive Player of the Week, and a big reason why the 49ers defense was able to close out both games to start the season, but also with the help of Nick Bosa 2 weeks ago in Seattle and Bryce Huff this past weekend down in New Orleans. John, what has been your breakdown and your thoughts of seeing those two guys paired up on the defensive line?
It's been pretty awesome. Our defensive front is very well coached. Chris Kaceric's as good as there is in our league. And he's got a lot of different tools to work with. And, you look at that group, Jordan Elliott and Kalia Davis, on the base downs. Alfred Collins had his best game as a Niner. He's improved so much. And, that's exciting. Mike Kell really showed out this week. We have that NASCAR package where you throw Gross Matos and Mike Kell inside and you have Huff and Bosa on the edges. That's tough to deal with. We got Sam O. So there's a lot of different names, C.J. West and Jordan Jefferson. It's just fun. We can throw a lot of different things at people, but it's fundamentally sound. They're they do so many drills working on the reactions and working on their rush, and they're also playing smart. They're not leaving big lanes to escape, which is going to be key against a guy like Kyler, who the plays can go a long time with Kyler Murray. He can play in rhythm, but he can also extend and make some things happen. He can also do the quarterback designed runs. So we have a huge challenge on our hands this week, but that group is really fun to watch.
When you can create pressure with just a 4-man rush, which they've been able to do, that allows the secondary to make some plays. And we've seen Upton Stout make some plays consistently. We saw him get into the backfield coming off the edge. Marquise Siegel flying around. D. Winters, not a secondary member, but you're absolutely right. Your comment earlier, these guys are playing fast, and I think they can do that with the confidence in the system and understanding where everybody's supposed to be. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now.
No doubt, and I think our effort would have been a lot better. We have a young secondary, young back end, and we were really close on a lot of plays, balls in the air, and maybe you can credit that to Rattler. I do think Spencer Rattler is a guy that, it's going to be fun to watch him progress this year. He plays very decisively, and he's got all the tools. And so sometimes when a quarterback's playing on time without hesitation, those bang-bang plays, they're there. And, their guys made them in a bunch of those moment of truth situations. So if we can get a couple of those out, attack the ball even a little better, then we'll be even better on defense. And so that's what I'm talking about. We can strive to be better, and we will and have, and but it's fun to watch this group approach it the right way. They're very well coached. Sala, we talked about, Chris Kacerek, Johnny Holland, Daniel Bullocks, Gus Bradley. It's a really well coached unit that's it's going to be really cool to see it develop all season long.
John Lynch is the voice you hear this morning on the UMA Guest Line, and these conversations with John Lynch are always sponsored by Freeman Appliance, proudly serving all Northern California with a wide selection of luxury appliances. Visit them in Pleasant Hill to see the Freeman's difference. And John, it's about that time. You knew that this question was coming. What can you tell us the latest on Brock Purdy's status?
I can tell you that it was encouraging to see him practice. He was limited yesterday, means he got out there and he had some activity. I think everyone saw that. The key now is how does he respond to that? So we'll find that out here later today, see if he can get back out there. Mac is preparing and will be prepared, as will Adrian Martinez. And so we'll be ready to go. We'll make an organizational decision on where Brock's at and later in the week. But it's encouraging to see him out there, and he's doing a heck of a job attacking the rehab every way that he can, spending countless hours and doing a really good job with it, as is our training staff. And so we'll see where that goes as the week develops.
One of the stories this week with Barch going on the IR is Connor Colby stepping in at that offensive guard spot and playing at a high level. I thought the offensive line did a great job against that front seven for New Orleans Saints. Talk about Colby, who was a late-round pick. Did you expect him to be able to come in and play at this high a level early in the season?
Well, I think the answer there is you never know. You can watch a guy throughout an off season. You can watch their college tape. You can watch the preseason. There's all these points of inflection, these points of evaluation to see how they're going to perform. And Connor's kind of passed the test each one of those. It was cool watching the Iowa tape because they do some similar things, particularly in their run game. So it's cool to be able to see him at Iowa do a lot of the things that we do, albeit a little differently, but similar. And then you always say, about players, sometimes you'll hear people say it's not too big for them, or hey, the lights got, it was a lot for him. And the coolest thing I can say about Connor, he stepped right in. That was a good defensive front that we played against in New Orleans, and man, he handled it well. And so he played consistently. He played well in the pass game. He pass blocked extremely well. He was good in the run game, and it certainly wasn't too big for him. And so now the question now is, can he continue to do that and do it consistently week in, week out? He's going to have that opportunity. We put Barch to IR. He had a high ankle sprain. Ben was playing well, and so that was unfortunate. But this league is that's what it's all about, being prepared such that when your opportunity comes, you can go perform at a high level, and Colby certainly did that, and the challenge will only get bigger of the really good defense that we're playing against in Arizona this week.
Well, another perfect example of that is Jake Tonjes, who came in, made an incredible catch against the Seahawks in week 1 to win that game. And then as we've seen him grow over last week and Juszczyk going out, he's used a little bit as a wingback and some screen plays to get him involved. His evolution and the ability to step into a big void left by George Kittle, both tight ends stepped up and played well. But talk about Tonjes and what he brings to that offense with his athleticism and pass-catching ability.
Yeah, Jake's doing a really nice job. He's an extremely versatile player, and I think that was on full display against the Saints because, he was asked to at times play the Y tight end, that's the inline tight end, at times play the F tight end, that's the kind of the move tight end, more involved in the pass game. And then Kyle Juszczyk went down, and in the course of that game, and now he's playing some fullback, and so to be able to handle that mentally, I think. Jake does a great job from the mental aspect of the game, being able to handle a lot of different situations, and to be able to take that on in the course of the game, that's preparation. I credit him. I credit his coaches for having him ready. But he's very athletic. He's got basketball in his background. You can feel that on the field. He's a really good mover. He catches the ball well, and he's getting better. He's really improving as a blocker. He and Luke Farrell are doing a really nice job. Braden Willis filling in a little bit. We talked about it. When Kittle goes out, you're never going to replace that because he's such a gifted and accomplished player. But you hope the some of the parts can get you by, and those guys, Farrell, you saw have a touchdown, and does Luke does a lot of the dirty work. Jake is stepping up when we need some third down conversions at crunch time. You saw it in Seattle, and again some of the blocking downfield on Luke's touchdown, and then I think on Jawan's touchdown he was blocking downfield. So he's playing at a high level right now, and we need that because you got such a great player like Kittle down.
John, you guys are coming home to Levi's this weekend with a 2-0 record, and we know how hard it is to win games in the NFL on the road, let alone with your backup quarterback. So just circling back to the quarterback room, what was your evaluation of Mac Jones and his performance down in New Orleans?
I thought he did really well. We were pleased to add Mac this offseason, and we had watched a similar thing happen with when you have a talented player and it hasn't gone their way, we saw it happen with Sam Darnold, and maybe a blueprint, although they're different players, a guy that we really like what they bring, the total package of what they bring, and saying, okay, maybe it hasn't gone like they've wanted elsewhere, but maybe if we put them in our situation and pour into them, maybe we can get all the talent that we see in them out of them, and so much credit goes to each one of those guys, Sam, and what he did with the opportunity, and you're seeing Mac really take advantage of the opportunity. I think a guy playing with a lot of confidence, and I know he was a little nervous going into that game, and you could see him settle in early on. The first series, they muddied up some looks and things, and it wasn't great, but by the second series, I think he was playing in rhythm. Kyle has a lot of trust for Mac. I think if the Saints they were kind of playing a lot of people close to the line of scrimmage and kind of almost daring us to throw it. So we threw it 36, 37, 38 times, and Mac was up to the challenge and made some big plays, protected the ball, and it's really nice to be able to have a player like that when your franchise quarterback goes down. So we're really proud of Mac and the way he settled in. You can see the guys really take to his leadership style, which is very unique. He's a little quirky and fun. You see his pregame outfits and all that, but the most important thing on that field, the guys like playing with him, and he stepped up and was huge for us.
After seeing his performance, does that influence your guys' decision on Brock Purdy's return at all?
No, I think you make a decision that is best for Brock and best for our team. And so, that's short term, long term. And, we'll take everything into account, but it's about where Brock is. Do we feel comfortable putting him out there? If not, we do know that we feel very comfortable with Mac. But I think you have to be careful about that. You got to make sure these guys are right and able to go perform at the level, from the ability to perform, but most of all their health and not just looking at it short term but long term. So we'll take all those things into account and make a good decision.
One quick follow-up on that. Would it be possible to possibly see Brock Purdy suit up as a backup quarterback this weekend?
You could see that. I think all things are on the table. It truly is, like I said, he did some things out at the practice field. Very encouraged by that. See how he progresses today. See if he can do a little more today, and then take it into the weekend and figure out exactly how we're gonna play that thing out.
One of the big questions coming into the season was the wide receiver room. I think 2 weeks before the start of the season, you had Pearsall and then some question marks, and that has sorted itself out with Juwan Jennings coming back, scoring the long touchdown. Pearsall has stepped up and looked like a true wide receiver one, and you're going to get some other players back over the next 4 or 5 weeks. Also, we saw Christian McCaffrey run some routes. How does that, I'm curious from your perspective as a free safety, preparing for a team that can spread out a running back who is an exceptional route runner. Kyle Shanahan yesterday said he is by far the best running back route runner I've ever seen. How does that put stress on a defense in some of the ways that the 49ers have used Christian McCaffrey?
It's a matchup nightmare for people. I thought Pete Warner on that comeback he caught did about as good as he could. But they've gotten so creative with these motions, these bump motions out of the backfield, that Christian, he can line up all over the field. He can put you in some really conflict. People play these quarters. Well, when you're playing quarters underneath, the linebackers are responsible for the running backs, and that's a tough ask. And when you're in man-to-man, you got to cover now. These running backs out of the backfield will run those rails and run deep. But then all of a sudden you overplay the deep route, and here comes the comeback, and a guy who can actually run those routes and make it look like a receiver. And we do a lot of work on that and timing and all that, and you saw it to perfection. And then he's got all the underneath stuff that he can run. So a player like that, Christian, I thought had a fantastic game. You looked at the stat sheet after, and it wasn't as big, but I think he's really close to just busting out on some explosives, but he's playing at such a high level. He's such a good football player in every facet, and it's going to be fun to watch him round into form this year. And nice thing this year, we really love, that you got Brian Robinson coming in when Christian needs a blow. Garindo obviously brings something with just flat out speed. That is really intriguing, and I really believe before this year's out, we'll see Jordan James out there, and we're really excited on what he might bring. And that's the NFL these days. Most teams have 4 backs, and they get used at some point during the year. But our bell cow is Christian, and he plays at such a high level and throws so much for opposing defenses to be able to stop. You take one thing away, he's going to beat you in another facet. So it's certainly nice to have him on our side.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, John. It really does feel like he's just one, maybe inch or two away from breaking off one of those big runs or making a big play and having one of those vintage Christian McCaffrey plays. But there have been a lot of questions after he dealt with those injuries last year and that calf scare we had before the season about whether or not he still has that same explosiveness or not. So from your opinion, what have you seen? Do you see that explosiveness from Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah, you look at things analytically and all this, and, our analytics team said that, that was his most efficient game since he's been a Niner the other day. Yards over expected, all the different metrics they look at. And so I think it's really close. The way things work, I think the more we continue to make plays like Juwan did, explosives there, the less attention they can just focus on Christian and pull people close to the line of scrimmage. They're going to have to back off a little. So it all works together. And then, it's being on every detail, and we're playing with a lot of moving parts. We've seen the receiver position throughout the off season into training camp. There were a lot of injuries and such, and that may be the case this weekend as well. So there's moving parts, but with that, there's a lot of intricacies. We ask our receivers to do a lot of blocking downfield, and if we can just get a little more on the details, I think those explosives start coming, and then we stay efficient on the the positive, the 5-yard runs, the 4-yard runs that we're doing on a regular basis. Those all of a sudden become the bigger ones, and so. Christian, believe me, he's plenty explosive. Ask the opponents he's playing against, and he's a threat to go the distance on each and every play.
Well, as efficient as the Niners have been on offense, great on third down, great in the red zone. I'm excited to see this team in week 6 and 7 when everybody's healthy, when Kittle's back, maybe Ayuk's back. You got Demarcus Robinson. That's where this offense, when you talk about the pieces, and they've been able to piece it together early in the season, you could be looking at week 7 with a lot of weapons that completely stretch a defense, and to your point earlier, can hurt a defense in so many ways. All of a sudden, you're playing cover 2 to take away the big play. That's where McCaffrey can rip off 7, 8, 9-yard runs.
No doubt, and that time's coming. But right now, our focus is this week against Arizona. Arizona is really, a lot of quality players there. They're very well coached. Jonathan Gannon does a lot of different things defensively. Budda Baker is used all over the field in a variety of ways. Plays safety, but at times they have him playing linebacker from all kinds of different disguises. So they're a tough opponent. They've added quality players every year. Monty Austinfort, their GM's done a really nice job building that team. So they bring a lot to the table, and we're going to have our hands full. Excited to be at home. Our road fans have been so outstanding. In Seattle, about half the crowd. In New Orleans, felt like a little more than half the crowd. So our road fans, the faithful, have been showing up. But we gotta have this place at 125 rocking here, Levi's, and have as great as our road fans have been, we got to be even better here and make this a place people don't want to come play.
Yeah, I know the 49er faithful are anxious to see their team at home this weekend down at Levi Stadium, where I believe you guys will be wearing white uniforms for the first time at home, and the Arizona Cardinals will be the first team to wear red uniforms in your own stadium, John?
Yeah, and probably based off an experience last year where we played the Cardinals, and we didn't make that adjustment early in the season, and everything counts, and is that a huge deal? I'm not sure, but you want every advantage that home field allows you, and you get to pick. So this year, with that was so hot last year, and who knows what it will be, but we're going to be in our whites, and our guys like the all whites anyhow, and so a little break from what we typically do, but looking for every possible advantage, and a day that could get up in the 80s, and we'll see. That's not what wins and loses games, but anything that we can do to give us any slight advantage, we're going to try to do.
Up in the 80s, come on, Tampa Bay, that would be a nice, cool day.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, we'll see the 49er faithful this weekend. Maybe they'll pull off like a college-style Penn State wideout and wear their road uniforms to Levi Stadium this weekend, because we've seen the 49er faithful show up on the road. But looking forward to seeing you this weekend, John. Always appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by the Murph and Marky Show.
Yeah, nice talking with you guys. Thank you.